Okay, great. Hopefully it'll work out. All right. So thank you so much for coming early. Thank you everyone for being patient. Yay, time zones. Why do we have them? So it's another level of excitement. Anyway.
I was just hanging out in the office anyway. Unexpected email from Dana. Do you want to jump on now? Because we're ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Let her rip.
We are going to chat about the things that are important that we need to measure in terms of local SEO. So I've got a slide deck. There's a few slides to go through, and then you'll just stop me if you want to ask anything or jump in. So metrics that matter in local SEO. Let's have a look. The joy of many screens. Okay, I watched this and obviously all of the other ones that you've done so far. And this is just a reminder that this is an absolutely super duper precursor to this. Is if you haven't watched it with Jill from the colouring in department, then you definitely should, because she talks at great length about measurement strategies, who you're measuring for, what they need to do with that data. So it is a really good, it's a prerequisite really. And the fact that there's a love heart around Jill doesn't mean that I don't love you, Dana, but it was just
I'm a little offended, but it's fine, I guess.
What can I do? If I don't have another 45 minutes to finish my slides, there's no time for love hearts for you, quite frankly. Sorry about that. So yeah, that is an awesome watch, which would be helpful for you beforehand. So this is me. Hello. Did we do introductions? I don't know. I might have missed them. I am Claire Carlile. I am a local search expert at Bright Local. I am also, what should we say, a marketing consultant for lots of businesses all over the world of shapes and sizes. But I particularly love working for Folly Farm, Adventure Park and Zoo here in Wales. So you're going to see some of our animals through here. So this actually is a goat called Daniel, who is very handsome. So when we talk about regular SEO, let's just have a little reminder. It's a lot like regular SEO. We've got the local organic results that we're concerned with as marketers, but we've got these added extras that are lots of fun to play with that are part of the SERP features. So we have the local pack or the map pack. We have the local finder. We've got local knowledge panels. And who knows what we're going to have tomorrow and the month after and the month after that, because that's one of the things that a lot of people are talking about, is how AI is going to change the SERP, how we're going to measure and be effective with regard to new SERP features. But what I'll say about that is we're marketers and we are used to changing how we think about things and our tactics. So I don't think we should worry terrifically about that. Let's see how the SERP starts to look, and I'm sure that there will be local features and that might change. But at the moment, we're pretty much operating as we always have, which is in terms of trying to get really good organic visibility for the types of search queries that our potential users are using. So no huge change. Keep an eye on the SERPs. So today we're going to focus on those added extras, which are very closely related to our Google business profiles. So the map pack, the local knowledge panel, the local finder. So you're here on this webinar, so I am pretty sure that you're familiar with what metrics are and that we need them to do a range of different things. So let's run through what we want to do with those metrics as marketers, as stakeholders, as business owners. We need them because we need to show return on investment, whoever that is within an organization. We need to demonstrate the fact that investment is being made on the money and the time that's being invested. We might need to report to someone or some person or a body within an organization. And a lot of the time we're asking for more. So it could be more money for us, as if we're an agency or a consultant. It might be we're doing such an excellent job that we would like to be paid some more money. It might also be because we are looking to secure more budget for more resource, internal resource, more people working on a project. It might be because we want new digital assets made.
And I
By the
think
way,
too,
Dave,
like something that I talk about all the time when it comes to money, I just want to really emphasize this point. SEOs are so bad at having conversations that are like, hey, look at all this money I made you. Like, don't be afraid of that, and really emphasize. And what I want you to take away from this as a total is these are the metrics that you should use to report on, because your client doesn't give a crap about rankings. They care about the money. So
yeah,
make sure to really emphasize those kinds of metrics when you talk to clients and your boss.
yeah. For sure. And some of the things that we'll look at today when we go through the metrics is actually demonstrating I'm working on local SEO and prominence in those SERPs. This is actually how much money is coming via those channels. You need to pay me more money. That's what you need to do. Okay. Also, beyond those things, we're marketers. We're also testing things. So we like to say, what happens if I put this here instead of there? What happens if I try that new feature? And it might be because Google has it's pesky. It moves things around. It moves things around on devices. It makes things look different across operating systems. So by measuring and tracking our performance, we can see what the implication is when Google moves things up and down and in and out of the SERP. So we are going to run through a smorgasbord of metrics today, and we need to think about, are all of these going to be for our clients or stakeholders? Because if anything I've learned over the years of, this sounds slightly sycophantic, but listening to Dana, is we do not want to fire hose our clients and stakeholders with loads of metrics that they can't use and are meaningless to them. So we're going to deep dive into a lot of different facets of Google Business Profile. And like I said, we don't want to fire hose people with a massive report with 1 million metrics that they can't actually make any sense of, and there's no actionable output from those reports. Another thing is, and I've seen people as marketers get themselves in these tricky situations, if you're giving like 150 metrics to a client and then they ask, why is that one going up and why is that one going down? And you don't have an answer, then it makes you look a little bit silly. So don't include anything unless it really is important to them and you're happy to drill down into the questions they might have about why the graph is going up, down, left or right.
Yeah, and actually I want to say too about measurement protocol in particular, never try to explain that. It's not, don't bother. But I think the other part of it too is also don't include anything that you're like, oh, this is so cool. Like I've gotten into this trap myself where I'm like, look at this neat thing I measured, but it doesn't actually tie directly to business metrics. It's just like something interesting that you saw.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be like, this person is actually laser focused on our goals because they're just like, look at this neat thing. If the client or boss asks about the neat thing, great, you can talk about the neat thing, but that shouldn't be the focus of the report for sure. You can talk to us about the neat thing. Tell me about the neat things. I love to hear about these things, but the boss or client, not so much.
Yeah, so this is talking about what type of client that you have. So it might be that you are working with do-it-for-me clients. Now, those are often small businesses. They are very busy doing the things that they do. It might be fixing things, it might be removals, they might be cutting hair, cooking, they might be a wizard. They really do not want to know about those strange metrics. They are super busy doing the things that they do. So really, they want to know about the metrics that are all about their bottom line. So they want to know about how much money, how many phone calls, how much money did we make, how many people filled in a form. So those types of clients. And then I also have clients which are do it with me. Maybe sometimes they're slightly bigger. They tend to have internal resource. So maybe a small marketing team, a marketing manager. So they want all of those metrics, but they're also a little bit interested in thinking about the different features, what works, what doesn't work, and drilling into those type of metrics. And then finally, I'm working with clients. They might be bigger. They might be agencies. They might have a much bigger in-house internal team, and they want to do everything. They want to know everything. They want to know how to test. They want to know how to put together a hypothesis framework for testing different things. So it all depends on the type of client that you are working with as to what type of metrics and what type of information you'll need to give them. So if you are working in local SEO, it is very likely that you are using some sort of rank checker to give you some sort of feel of organic visibility using something like a GeoGrid. So that might look a bit like this. Obviously, there's lots of different parts at play here. We've had the little algo tweak where was it a tweak maybe, where opening times were affecting how you appear in here. Be aware that this is just a snapshot of ranking at one point in time using whatever tool it is, but it is a way for us to see who are our competitors, what are their primary categories, what are their secondary, how much are they open, what is their review ratings, for example. So we use these, but we don't just use rank trackers, and we definitely don't just report on these. In fact, I don't report on rankings at all with clients. I use them as a tool just for myself to understand the competitive landscape most of the time.
Oh,
so
ranking,
ranking,
do you show those kinds of pictures to clients? You don't report on rankings, but do you show those pictures to clients?
I show them within the idea that, hey, look, ranking will change depending on who is searching and where they're searching from. Also, this will be useful for you because it will give you an idea of, hey, look at all the green here. That means you're doing really well. Oh, goodness me, why is there this big red section up here? Right. What's at play here? So that's how we use them generally, whereas it wouldn't be something that I would include in a monthly report. I would be reporting on organic traffic that came via local or general organic, but I wouldn't be reporting on a rank checker. But I do use them a lot because they're just brilliant for understanding the landscape.
Oh, yeah. And visually they look great. Like, it's, you know me and how I feel about like visually too many tables in a report. Like, one less table. This is so nice and visual for clients to really get right away. Yeah.
And also it can be a nice thing where you show that you've got a lot more visibility, whereas you've moved from big swath of red to there's much more green here. Yeah. So ranking is obviously just one part of the local SEO picture, and ranking, see, this is what happens. I get disturbed. That's my child. Rankings do not pay the bills. We can't eat rankings. We really can't. So we need to think about what matters to the stakeholder, but also what is going to move the needle for their business, what is important to them. So this is where I like this piece. Why should you start projects with a goal charter? So running through the whole idea with, and this isn't a one and done, there's something that might be revisited, I don't know, annually. It depends on the size of the organization and who you're working with. But this is something that you're definitely going to want to do at kickoff. And it is something that you'll want to revisit in terms of understanding and asking, but why, but why, but why, but why, and drilling down to what it is that you actually need to measure. So a very quick summary of that piece. So I would definitely go and read that in full. But speaking to the stakeholder, to the client, what are your goals? Why do they actually exist? Because there's no point saying to me the whole, I want to build a brand, I want people to stay on the site for longer, something about bounce rate, blah, 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 blah. What are the goals? Why do they exist? And how are we going to know when we've reached them? So it's all very smart, all very measurable. So we need to go beyond the rank checkers to answer these questions, but lots of other questions as well. So how is the actual parts of Google business profile contributing to your bottom line? How much, how often, from where, which parts of Google business profile, there we are, which parts of Google business profile are driving the conversions? And then widening the scope a little bit about some of the things that we need to answer as search marketers ourselves is, what are the queries that we have visibility for that we might be able to improve and we might be able to get increased organic visibility for? And we can actually do that if we tag up our Google business profiles, which I'll run through with you in a moment. All okay so far? Yeah, all good? Okay, so let's have a little think about where those local SEO metrics live. Where are we going to squirrel them out from? They live in some very familiar to us as SEOs places. So we have the wonderful GA4 that we're obviously...
That felt a little sarcastic.
Incredibly in love with. Love heart. So we can find our data in there. There's some data right there. And we can find it in Google Search Console, like here. But obviously, to get that data and to see it as visits that are coming from Google Business Profile, we need to make sure we have UTM tagged up all of our Google Business Profile URL so we can see that data in a granular way in Google Analytics and in Google Search Console. But we have obviously all done that already because we've been talking about this for a very long time. But guess what? When I work with new clients, they haven't done it. They missed that memo. If you want to revisit that, this is an old Whiteboard Friday, note my long hair. There is now a new Whiteboard Friday, which things keep happening with Google, and it keeps getting pushed away down the calendar. So hopefully the new one will be live in a few weeks. And also, if you do a little search for UTM tagging for Google Business Profile, you should find the guide on my site, which gives you all of the details, and then it gives you a Google sheet that you can drop your URLs into. It will auto tag them, and then you just need to move those over into your Google Business Profile. And then aside from those quite familiar places, those metrics are hanging out in some perhaps less familiar places. So we've got our Google Business Profile performance data. So if you are using the insert editing dashboard with your business, you'll see it here in the kitchen sink, or whatever we decide to call that part, in your performance data. But you can get that in a number of different ways. If you're using the API because you're very whizzy and you know about those things and you're using the API directly, you can also use third-party tools to get access to that. And I'll look at one of those third-party tools in a moment. I like to use to get that data into Looker Studio. And you can also download your bulk insights from the dashboard that still exists if you're managing multiple locations. Where is it? business.google.com. Isn't it, Dana?
Yeah, but who knows how much longer those are going to exist. And here's my question. Do you think that those metrics are at all accurate? Because when I've compared, say, calls versus what I see in Carlile, it's not quite very...
Yeah, so we'll run through that. Yeah, so each different place gives me different data. So if you look at directionality by data set rather than, oh, why is it like that here? Don't worry about it. Okay, let's just keep in that. And then if there's a measurement protocol change, hopefully we'll know about it, because we'll keep reading the things and it should be flagged. But we'll come to that in a moment. So these are pretty important metrics. And what we're going to do is run through how they are measured, because that's a really important part of the puzzle. And then I don't actually work with anyone that uses call tracking, but it is a very important part of the puzzle for people that do choose to use call tracking, so they can measure the efficacy, effect, that one, of when they're working on different. Do we like that? Yeah,
we'll go with that. Yeah.
The campaigns. Let's go with it. So, for example, other call tracking providers are available, but usually when I know anyone that is working with these, it will be Carlile or call tracking metrics. Do you use Carlile?
Carlile, yeah, always Carlile. We've used them for years. So why don't the clients you've talked to that we don't want call tracking, what's their reasoning for it? Is it a budget thing, or is it something else?
I don't really know. They just don't want to measure at that granular type of level. They just use their regular phone number. They don't spend a lot of money on advertising, like zero on paid. So I guess that they think that phone level, they're just not using that as a key metric, basically. So my mate is like a single location attraction in the UK. Yeah.
They know the phone's ringing. They know where it's coming from.
They know the phone's ringing. It's ringing too much. They just don't want it to ring anymore, quite frankly, probably. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting, too, about when it comes to call tracking, is the clients who we've had who decline call tracking are the ones who have no doubt at all that local SEO is bringing them business. And so they're like, it's fine. I don't doubt this. It doesn't matter to me. Or they're deeply concerned about their phone number changing, because that's obviously, you have to show a different phone number for call tracking, and they hate that. So for us, those are the two.
Yes. And I think especially when we pay for listings and we pay for anything else, always make sure that we're seeing return on that with it by using GA4, whereas we just never really measured, is the phone ringing? It's more, I know it's either going to go to the website or it's going to go to the Google Business Profile, obviously. Yeah. Anyway, so yes. Is there a place for it? Potentially. I just don't think that we're granular enough to need it or want it at the moment. So let's have a look at those metrics. So we'll start with the ones that normally your clients and your stakeholders really want to know about. So how many times is the phone going to ring? It's exactly like we were saying. If the phone is ringing, and it all depends on the types of business, someone that the phone rings and you pick it up and they're like, someone goes, then that's probably not the type of call that you want. You want someone to say, hello, how much is it going to cost for someone to come and fix my radiator or whatever? So a phone call is a lead. So we do like to get those phone calls. There are lots of different ways that someone can call your business. So this is where we get to the difference of the metrics. So we have calls via Google Business Profile. So that is when somebody clicks on that little link there, which says call, and that could be on a mobile device, and it could be on a desktop. Where we see that data is in Google Business Profile performance. So we will get that data via the API, or we might be doing it via download, but we will get that. We might look at it on a monthly basis, say, for example. But let's have a think about what that's actually measuring. So if you go and have a little look at the information on the Google Business Profile API, I think it is essentially just the times that button is clicked. It doesn't mean that the call is connected. It doesn't mean that you've had a conversation with someone. So it isn't, it's, if we're thinking of funnels, it's before the call is even connected. It's like someone is going into the funnel, but it's not an actual phone call. So if I was comparing this information with my CallRail data or my click to call from my website, which we'll get to in a moment, I would imagine this will be top of funnel. So this could be like 80, 100. And then as we look at the other data points, I imagine there'll be fewer. Is that what you're seeing, Dana?
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting too when you see the click to call. Is what did you expect to happen when you clicked on this? Like, why aren't you actually completing the call? Are you surprised that if you click on a phone number, it's like, oh, it opened up my phone app? Like, what do you think was going to happen? So I think that's also, I want to ask people questions about that. Why do so many of you click that and not actually follow through with the phone call?
Oh, I don't actually
by that.
I actually don't want to speak to somebody. That's me. What? No, I'm not speaking to a person. That is what that measures. And then if we're using call tracking, like CallRail, so if someone clicks on that button and then actually then goes ahead and uses the phone number, then that's what will trigger however it's measured in CallRail. And now that's a question that I've got for you now. This screenshot is actually from you, from Kickpoint, which is looking at, this is the data inside. How does CallRail, is it like a 1 second call, a 2 second? What's the base point for measuring a phone call for CallRail?
Any call shows up as a call. So even if it's not answered, which is also actually a really useful metric. And one of the things that we look at in CallRail is we look at percentage of unanswered calls, because this has actually been really helpful with some of our clients to be like, hey, this one location that you're like, their performance isn't very good. They're not answering the phone. And that might be the problem. So that could be really helpful, as well as to determine like hours maybe you should be open. If you're getting a lot of calls like an hour before, after you're currently closed, maybe an answering service, for example. But any call at all, if it connects, it goes into CallRail. So I think that's something to keep in mind with CallRail as well. When you're just looking at the volume, you're just looking at calls, but that doesn't mean that they actually like talk to you. But then you can introduce a filter and say only calls over 30 seconds, only calls. And looking at the call time is actually a really great metric, because, for example, when we're talking to clients who they're lawyers, for example, right? If it's a short phone call, it was the wrong number, or like somebody trying to sell them something. If the call is longer than 3 or 4 minutes, then we know that's a great lead coming in.
So there's all those different data points from within. It sounds a bit like if goals and stuff within Google Analytics, you're like, you can segment the calls to see the quality of the different. But so you've got that. That's obviously a different metric measured in a different way. Oh, the joy of the screen. Here we go. So what is it? It's actual calls to that number. And I've written here, because I wrote this before I spoke to you, that are answered by the business. That's not the case. It's just however CallRail measures it, it means that button has been pressed internally, that someone has called that phone
but
number.
you can filter your reports so they only show answered phone calls. But I do strongly recommend looking at answered versus unanswered. And especially, this is where, especially if you're consultant side, this is where you raise from the level of a vendor to an actual consultant, because you're like, hey, guess what? Your team isn't answering phone calls. You're not like passively accepting the data. You're actually looking at it and identifying patterns.
There's no point me giving you these like 60 new leads if you're getting absolutely no closer to converting any of them. And then finally, with the calls, we've got click to call on a website itself. So once someone actually lands on your website and they go ahead and make an action, in this example, they're calling the business via click to call, then if that originally has come via Google Business Profile, then I'd like to get some sort of glory in the attribution there. We're able to do that in Google Analytics if we're looking purely at traffic visits that have come via Google Business Profile, so we can see those calls as well. So it's when someone clicks on the click to call on the website, but only from people that have come via Google Business Profile. So I'm quite interested in that. So if you're reporting this to the client, basically they might only want to know, okay, fine, just put them all in one bucket. Let's have a look. Show me that they're all going up. Or you might choose to report separately. It really depends on you. I like reporting separately because it allows me and the client to diagnose any problems that exist, to make a little bit more sense of the data, and basically to answer any questions about those different channels. And you've already alluded to this. We do need to be careful because they are not the same. They're metrics which are similar, but they're not measuring the same thing. They're measuring different things in different platforms. Google Business Profile calls are not the same as our call tracking calls, which are not the same as the clicks to call on the website via Google Analytics. They're different metrics using different measurement protocols. So we only should think about directionality by data set. So think of them individually. Obviously, we want to see that graph going up and right. If it doesn't, we need to say, is this a seasonal part? What is the reason for this? And it allows us to ask questions and see improvement to actually come up and make sense of that data. The next thing that lovely stakeholders and customers want to know is, how much money are people spending? How much dollar is coming from our Google Business Profiles? So that is super duper easy within Google Analytics. When you've got e-commerce tracking, you can see what your visits from Google Business Profile are driving in terms of revenue and what products they're buying. Yeah. You can do that because you know how to use GA4 because you've done a really good course. Is that right? Yes.
Yes. The really good course, by the way, is called Practical GA4. It's on our website at kpplaybook.com. No, but seriously, I think e-commerce setup, I think, is really tricky for a lot of people. And I think that they struggle with, it's a little bit buggy. So if you are struggling with e-commerce and GA4, please feel free to reach out. It is something that there's lots of tutorials out there on it, but it doesn't, it depends. Is this a WordPress website? This is from Folly Farm. So this is WordPress?
Yes. Yes.
And do they use WooCommerce for their e-commerce?
I can't remember.
Okay. There is a good plugin for WooCommerce for people who use that. I do recommend just paying for the plugin.
It's
I
not
think it's
using
$99 for the year.
Yeah, we've got a third party.
Okay.
Domain. Ticketing domain, blah, 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 blah. But yes, the e-commerce implementation for me, in terms of the many iterations of working with Follow Farm over about 5 different CMSs and all of the other things, Shopify, super duper easy, one click. Wix, super duper easy, one click. Other things, not so much. So it all depends on your CMS, what you're running. Very tricky, but sometimes very easy. So yeah, in-store spend. If you are obviously working in local, you're working with someone with a bricks and mortar offering, then they might want to know, is this actually driving in-store spend? Is this driving people into our establishment? Understandably, it's a little bit more tricky to measure because people aren't tagged and we don't know that they looked at a website and then they walk through and the beacon picks up on the fact we used to be able to do that. But
there was one shining moment where we could track everything. I did my talk at MozCon, I think 2 weeks ago now. And what I said in my talk there was, it's not like anyone's going to walk into the store and hold up their phone and be like, I got an email today. Make sure to attribute this to email. It's not going to happen. Like, people just don't do that. So yeah, it's a bit trickier when it comes to those in-store sales.
In the time of the beacon, where Google were sending out a beacon to all of these, I can remember getting it through the post and going, wow, look at that. And then a couple of weeks later, oh, that's actually, from a privacy point of view, it's a bit dodgy. So yeah, okay. So it is more tricky to measure. So one of the ways that we can do that is if you have a third-party integration with some sort of booking provider on your website, which can then be linked up to Google Business Profile. Bookings are a really good indicator because the way that this booking works is it doesn't take money, but you can make an appointment. So I would say that there is about maybe only a 10% drop off or something on the bookings that are made via Google Business Profile that turn into an actual visit to the bricks and mortar location and a piercing. So that's a really good way to measure to see if your Google business profile is generating that sort of footfall and that revenue. So if you can hook up your booking provider with Google business profile and that works within the context of your business and the way you need to manage your bookings, then that's great. You can measure that within Google business profile itself in the performance metrics. Driving directions actually is a pretty solid intent to visit. If someone is looking for a driving direction to your place of business, then it is quite likely they are going to visit. And again, you can find that data in your performance metrics in Google Business Profile. But something to be aware of, and now I think this is still the case, that I think the way Google measures this is based on not necessarily postcode, but it is other locations that are very close by. It can bucket them in one bucket. So this is what happened to me when I moved my office from a location that also shared that location with an attraction. It was a really beautiful garden as well. So no one comes to see me at my place of work, that's for sure. No one comes to visit me, and that's fine. But the metrics definitely fell away when I moved into a broom cupboard in a different location. So just be aware that if you're moving or you share a location, then that can affect the metrics for your driving directions. Another underutilized way is, and now who knows what will happen with Google Business Profile posts, whether they'll be around or not. There's been a lot of conjecture for a number of years about whether they'll stay or whether they'll go. They're here for the moment. They don't take long to set up. They don't take long to craft one that actually gives you a good return. So I'd go ahead and do it and work out what works and what doesn't. But there are offer posts which used to actually get quite a good amount of visibility in the Google Business Profile and on Google Maps, not so much recently, which is another reason to track and understand how movements around the SERP features actually affect your bottom line. If you use an offer post and you use a little code and ask people to show it when they come into your location, imagine if someone comes in, 5 people come in for a free donut or whatever it is, that's 5 people that you've measured. It took me 3 minutes to set up that offer post, and that made me however much on my donuts. So it is worth having a little play with to see how that works for you. This was a little study. It wasn't that little. It was a study which was reasonably robust by My Shop Local. And what they did was they wanted to test whether GBP offer posts worked on a multi-location. I think it was like a retail store. So what they did is they used Google Business Profile offer posts in some locations and not in other locations. And they made sure that it was a hypothesis framework and everything was robust as it could be, et cetera, et cetera. And then they measured using the point of sale information what the difference was in the units sold. So they were doing something like they had nut milk or something in their Google posts, and they sold 63% more of those units that had the offer post that didn't. It does make sense that people are seeing them and they will see them, and that you will likely get uplift, especially if you're the type of business that is going to, oh my gosh, we've got like 60 million cartons of nut milk that need moving. If you're going to have a special offer, you might as well just chuck that special offer on Google Posts. You already created the content and the assets and the micro copy, so just chuck it in Google Post.
And I think too, people are like, I don't use Google Posts. I don't look at those. SEOs, I hate to break it to you, we use desktop computers way too much. We use desktop computers all day for our work. Normal human beings who are not SEOs use mobile phones, and posts are way more visible on mobile phones. So just keep that in mind, that like you are not the target market. This was a fantastic study, and I'm glad they did it.
Yeah, I'm glad they did it. And just on that subject to do with, we have such a single vision, or we're SEOs. This is how I use the SERP. That's the one. People don't do that. Actually, get your phone, look for coffee shops near me, go and use it for, I want to buy a tumble dryer or whatever it is, but actually use Google Maps, because the thing is, nobody knows where Google is going next with regard to, let's try and turn maps into some sort of social network in terms of small local businesses like it was before. Because if I followed a business, I used to get those posts pushed into a special feed. So if there were coupons, then I would see those coupons. So to say I don't use them is, if you haven't been out and spoken to 50 of your customers to understand how they search, what they use, then it's, I think we need to revisit that.
Like out with your friends or your parents or your in-laws or like whenever I see my wife Google something, I always watch to see what she does. And like, why did you search like that? Why did you, for example, the other day she looked up something on Maps, but she didn't open the Maps app. She searched for it on Google and then went to the Maps link on Google. I'm like, why did you just open Maps? She's like, oh, I forget that there's a Maps app. And we have Android phones. It's really integrated with it. So it's just so interesting to see how other human beings who do not do this all day, have not had our brains warped by the existence of SEO, how they use the internet. So really take that into consideration when you're thinking about what you're going to spend your time on.
Yeah, definitely go out and find some target market and ask them what they do, how they search, where they would start, and then we can dispel the myth that everything starts on TikTok. Okay, reviews. Our stakeholders, our clients want to know, am I getting reviews? And most of all, are those reviews good? Okay, so the two main metrics that we have here, review count and average rating. We want to see a good number of reviews, and what's more, we want to see a good average rating. We can, if your business or the business you're working with has it's 5, but you've only got 2 reviews, we're clever. We look at those things. You need to have a good amount of reviews and a very solid average rating. Especially if you've got multi-location, a nice way to see how this changes over the months is to use, I think this is a free, there we go, GBP no-code data warehouse report template. It just slips off the tongue, doesn't it? It's a lovely short, but that's by Jepto. So that is a free template that you can find. Go and have a poke around on the Jepto website. If you've got multi-location, then it's a good way to click around and to see. And it's exactly as you were saying, Dana, rather than just going, oh, 6 million reviews, blah, let's use reviews to actually understand which locations are performing well, why, which locations aren't performing so well, why, how do we get more reviews, how do we make them better? So that this is a really handy template. If you don't have the in-house or personal capability to put this together, then it is always nice to have a free template. Another one, excuse me, how many leads am I getting through Google Business Profile messaging? But this is where we need to hold our horses, because Google giveth and Google taketh away. So we have this Google Business Profile chat is going away. So anyone that has turned that on recently or been using it for a while, sadly, whether or not you're part of, there's 2 different parts of it. One is the part that third-party platforms use, and one is this simple interface. See, anyway, all of it's going away. But, and I haven't seen this yet, but the talk of the town is that Google might give businesses the option to add WhatsApp or text message there. Because for some devices, in my understanding, I wasn't getting those via chat anyway. I was getting them straight into my message inbox on my phone. Don't even personally, I can't spend my time understanding how this is delivered across platforms. I've got this and it comes in like this. That's fine. Don't say, oh, it doesn't exist anymore. It's actually more useful to be able to manage it via WhatsApp than it is trying to do it via the messaging dashboard from before. So
that's really interesting. Where did you get the screenshot from?
This came, it's been in search engine land and it's been on blah, 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 blah.
I've missed that then. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been in various places.
I'm interested by WhatsApp. WhatsApp is such a European UK thing. Like it's.
Is it really?
Oh, yes. No, WhatsApp is not as popular in North America. So I'm very curious to see if it ends up taking off or not. But I like that there's a text message option.
Okay, yeah. So either of those things. So businesses want to know, is it worth the investment? Because actually it maybe might take less time if they actually integrate it with other services within that. Another thing we need to think about is considering your actual target market's communication preferences, because we've already touched on this. This is what happens if my phone rings. I let it ring and then I Google the phone number to see who it might have been, because I don't talk to people anymore. So if it's the difference between, wow, I can just message someone and I know that I'm going to get an answer immediately, or at least within 5 minutes, then I'm going to use that rather than calling. Also, it's much easier on the resources front to just go, yeah, open till 5, than it is to answer the phone and say, hi, blah, 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 blah. A message, in my experience, usually equals a lead. So this is just some screenshots from clients that have had messaging turn on for years and years. Can you take us kayaking? Do I need to book online to visit you, or can I buy on the door? 2 leads, that's money in the bank. Yes, please. But also, and one of the reasons that it's purported that one of the reasons behind let's collapse messaging is because the amount of spam, people selling you reviews, selling you things. And also sometimes you just get fan mail, kids spending some time. But I think of those, they're actually my evangelists. So I'm perfectly happy for someone to tell me that they love animals at Folly Farm and send me a picture of their fidget toys, because they will be visiting Folly Farm. So what percentage of our messages were actual leads? So we can use the data in Google Business Profile. So even if they port over to WhatsApp or messages, one would imagine they're still going to give that as a data point within the API. And then we can calculate manually. You do need to go away and do that bit on your own, a little bit of maths. The number of messages that were leads divided by the total number of messages times 100 lets you know how many actually turned into leads. And then you balance the benefit of that against the cost of the business. If you've put a system in place where you can run WhatsApp on your desktop, you can have pro forma, you could, whatever, I'm sure there'll be some sort of AI interface. But anyway, even if you're a real person, most of the time it's, yes, we are open till 5, hope to see you later. That really doesn't take you long to tap that in. This was the old platform. You used to have to mark spam. You had to respond to messages. Otherwise, you can get your messaging closed down. It's likely that the response rate could factor in. No, it can't, because they can't measure it anymore because it's via... Anyway, those are the old rules, but still be nice and respond to the messages. You could have lost the functionality. How are we doing for time? Can I carry on at this rate? Is this okay?
Go for it. Yep. We're going to run over. So I mentioned in the banner, so if I know we started late because of time zone excitement, we are going to email out a copy of the replay. So if you do have questions, pop them in the chat and we'll get to them, and they'll come up in the recording. But otherwise, we are just going to keep on trucking. So go for it, Claire.
Cool. Let's carry on. So metrics for us, we're the SEOs, we're the marketers, we're the people that like touching the buttons and fiddling around with things. What do we like? I love reviews. I always say they're like a window into the soul of a business. You can find out so much with reviews. When you have a little look on Google, you will see something which is called place topic. So what happens with a place topic is once you have a certain number of reviews, you will start to be served place topics for your organization. So what Google does here is it semantically groups similar topics across your review. It's really useful to have a look to see what those are, because they can give you lots of different ideas. It could be good things, it could be bad things. You could actually look at your competitors, because it's always really nice to poke around in your competitors or other people in the similar market, because then you find out what is important to people and your target market, either from that this is really good, this is not very good. I really love these place topics. So another way that you can have a look at the content of a whole textual corpus of a review. So if you can just take the textual content from your reviews, or from a competitor's reviews, or from a number of locations, or from one location, you can slice and dice it however you choose. Pop it through an Ngram analyzer. So there's a link to one here. And then what you can do is you can say, okay, you can give your stop words. So it filters out anything that you don't want included. And then you can say, only give me 2 or 3 phrase, or it depends on how many you've got, basically, because otherwise you'll just get as a massive, huge box. But so this was just taking mine, and you can see some of the themes. But with this, it doesn't, obviously, it's one-to-one matching. It doesn't semantically group words. So, but again, it's another really nice way to have a little look at your competitors' reviews. If it's things like professional, pleasure, recommend, highly recommend, that's all great. If it says dirty, smelly, rude, unpleasant, then you see that there is potentially a problem, unless that is one of the USPs of your organization, and that's how you get people through the door. It's a niche. So let's get granular with our revenue and with our conversions. We've already looked at big pictures, but let's actually drill down. So we already said to the client, okay, Google Business Profile drives a shed load of revenue. But we want to know which parts, because I don't want to do Google Posts anymore if it's not making anyone any money, for example. And it could be an internal thing to do with your agency and your organization, or it might be something that you're trying to communicate to the client so they stop putting time and resources into something that isn't giving them any return. So we'll run through, we've tagged up our links, but it's worth knowing that there are so many features and functions in Google Business Profile where we can add a link, and some of those are new and you might not have used them before. So you can imagine, like the homepage on a website, the primary link is always going to get the lion's share. So you can imagine it's usually the most high profile link. It's very clickable. So our primary link, when we tag that up, whether we're single location or multi-location, we can imagine that clicks on that website link are going to be much higher and drive more revenue than anything else. We also have activities. So if you're the type of provider, you have either a primary or a secondary category that's going to trigger this functionality within your Google Business Profile. This is fantastic because you actually get to provide links to your website. I've seen really good traction on these for the businesses that I work with. Admissions, again, if you're a type of listing, it's possible for you to actually add your own admissions links. If you work with third parties, you can find that a lot of your Google Business Profile is full of those third-party links. So this is an excellent way for you to curate the information that appears in your local knowledge panel and make sure that they're going to the right pages on your website and you don't end up paying commission to these third-party sites. Products, will they stay? Will they go? Who knows? But if you've got them, pop them on and see if they do anything for you. And then Google Posts, everyone's favorite thing to hate, but it's actually quite useful. Okay, so with all of my clients, I put together a super duper easy to find and use report in Looker Studio that just looks at those campaign tags. Then it filters just our Google Business Profile tags, and I can see which parts of Google Business Profile are actually driving revenue. So that is a good thing to look at. And if suddenly you're not seeing any revenue from posts, why is that? Is it because you haven't done any posts? Is it because they've all fallen out of the business profile? Is it because Google has moved stuff around? Is it because somebody in all their wisdom decided that Google Posts should just be, cross-purposing your blog content? Okay, so this can also help you understand what type of content should live in what type of area in your Google Business Profile. And then we can use opportunities. We want to find opportunities in our Search Console data. We need to, obviously we've got our UTM tagging in place, but what this lets us do is understand what type of queries we are getting that visibility for with our Google Business Profile. So we can look at branded, non-branded, product, topic. We can sort it in lots of different ways depending on how we put this together. So we only want to see Google Business Profile visibility. So we're going to create some filters. So if we want to look at branded, now this is where I'm going to need a bit of help from you, Dana, please, because I need you to check my filters. So I normally just use a catch-all. So I'll use the regex book contains, and if there are, especially with Folly Farm, because we have a lot of misspellings, so I will just go folly, and then I'll have pipe bar folly, FOLEY, and then I'll have something else. So that's how I normally put it together. And then I want to include a landing page. So this will include, this will be the bit where I filter out the parameters from my UTM tag. So I know that they've always got GBP in them.
So sometimes I might write the landing page regex where UTM medium equals or whatever it might be, only because there is a small possibility that there could be a page that has GP. GBP,
especially if you've done a guide today, right? For sure.
Yeah.
So this is all very dependent on your business. If you are running a zoo or something, it is unlikely that you're going to have any content on your website about GBP. If you are a marketing agency or you're a content provider or something, then you might do. You might choose, basically look at this from your point of view. This isn't a one-size-fits-all approach, but this will hopefully give you some ideas about how you can start to bucket things up.
I just want to say too, if you're struggling with regex, get ChatGPT to write it. I don't write any of my own regex anymore. I wasn't good at it anyway. And ChatGPT gets it right every time. Just be extra explanatory of what you want and tell it where it's going to be. And if you're using the free version of ChatGPT, make sure to say Google Data Studio, not Looker Studio, because the free version doesn't know that the product has been renamed.
Okay. That's brilliant. Thank you. I think that, why has his name escaped me? Who did the last webinar with you?
Ask Me Anything.
No, before that. Andy, Crestadina.
Andy, yes.
Okay. I think that the idea of using people are lost in terms of give me the prompts that I need to use. So you've just said, be very specific, use it like this. Marie Haynes has just published a new piece of content, which has got loads and loads of prompts in it. You've got that webinar. So go and follow other people's prompts, and then you can then tweak them accordingly. But otherwise, it's hard to get the results that you actually need out of ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever you're using. So let's think about our non-branded now. Oh, yes. So let's think about our non-branded. We're going to do the opposite that we did for this first filter here. Rather than only including our brand name, we're going to exclude our brand name. So again, if you've got lots of multiple misspellings here, then you can just add those with the pipe bar. And then again, however you're going to do your only include the landing page, then you can pop that in there. Now, this is a bit tricky if you have decided to call your business Workplace Sexual Harassment Attorneys, Custom Signs Near Me, Stop Sexual Abuse Firm. Now, obviously, there are a lot of people that have done this because of the way that Google has treated that sort of exact match on the naming. I'm not, you know how I feel about it. Look at my face.
Yeah, if you've called your business that, do you really have a brand? That's my response, right? I don't think you can do branded because you don't have a brand. Your brand is just a keyword. So yeah. Yes.
When I think about this and I talk to people about this, I'm like, okay, you can describe your primary product or service. There's two problems with that. Or is there one? Okay, I would say you need some sort of branding modifier. So you're naming, and then maybe you're going to put marketing agency in that after. But you do need to be careful when you use the primary product or service. But what if you expand? What if you change? What if the market shifts? So anyway, I'm not a big fan, but obviously there is a disambiguation issue, because if you're looking for sexual harassment attorney because you want those non-branded searches, then it's impossible for you to know really whether that was a branded or a non-branded search. So I'm just flagging the fact that.
And the other thing too is for repeat visits. If someone searched for sexual harassment attorney and then, oh, I checked out all these websites, and they come back and search for it the next day, they're like, was it workplace sexual harassment attorney? Was it just sexual harassment attorney? Was it you? And so I think that's where as well with a branded, even for Custom Signs Near Me, like Custom Signs by Dave Near Me, right? Like just adding that one extra word isn't going to kill whatever Google magic you're going for. And it will establish at least a tiny bit of a brand.
Yeah. And why not? If you're going to just stick with home painting and that's all you're ever going to do, then be Davina's home painting service
Bob's
or whatever.
Home painting near me. Yeah. There you go.
That's fine. Go for it. But have that branded part plus that primary service in there. So there we are. We've got our little filters we've put together. And this is for a topic. So you're like, I want to know what. There's a geo modifier here. I want to know what's coming in with a Pembrokeshire geo modifier, or I want to know what's coming in with a, I don't know, meter sloth. I want to know just about this certain thing because I'm promoting this part and I want to see that I'm getting more visibility or I've got better ranking in the top 10. So that's how we put together these buckets there. So if you wanted a really super easy template that I've put together, you can go ahead and obviously tweak the filters yourself. Then that lives on this URL here, which we won't open now because it will be far too complicated and I'll get lost within the screens. But that already exists. So have a play around. Don't give me feedback. I'm not going to change it. Just enjoy it or build a better one for yourself. Thank you. So let's think about picking off the low-hanging fruit. And this is where don't search for that on Twitter because you will get some very unpleasant things to look at. But I was trying to find this tweet from Melissa Pop, who spoke about low-hanging fruit. It is one of the things that we love to do as SEOs and marketers. It's what are we doing okay for that we can actually do better for? So we're going to look at, and again, this is all dependent on your business and what you're trying to do, but let's look at queries with a high-ish volume, 5, 10, 15, 20. It depends how niche you're being. I don't even look at, what is query volume? It's all a nonsense, isn't it? But what we are looking at is if you're looking at your data within Search Console, you can usually see it's a good indicator. And then good conversion prospects, because you don't want to have more visibility for something that isn't feeding the end point of where you're trying to go to. And then maybe in terms of ranking, okay, I'm ranked 4 to 15 and I really want to be in the top 3. I really want to get some more visibility for this. So I love this bit, so what you do is you do the SEO magic which is a thing that people get you to do to their content. And the most magical part of this is actually using the words on the wow, that's some magic, isn't it? So if you're trying to get increased visibility for a search query that you know is a search query that is going to convert, does it actually appear on your website? Does it appear on any of the landing pages that are linked to from your Google business profile? Do you use it in your internal links, in your title tag? Is it included in your categories? All of those good stuff. So what you do is you've got your low hanging fruit, you do your SEO magic, and then ta-da, this is what happens. Now, if you think of yourself as being a bit of a brand marketer and you're doing that via your local, there is no reason that you shouldn't be able to share the credit for an increase in brand name searches. But it is often the non-branded and the topical queries that we measure in terms of visibility over time, because those are the things that we're trying to get more visibility for. Because those impressions and clicks are the ones that you can most likely and most easily attribute to your local SEO efforts. So I think we're going to round up in a moment, because I can't remember how many slides there are. But metrics come and metrics go. As SEOs and marketers, we do spend a lot of time crying into our keyboards about, but I used to have this thing and it was so good. Do you know what? Yeah, you got to suck it up, because they come and they go. So in the past few years, we've said goodbye to some corkers. I used to love the new follower offer that nobody else loved, but it used to like deliver revenue to my business every month, and I did nothing. Geodata in driving directions, that used to be brilliant. You used to see where people geographically were clicking the directions, and it was like, that's where we need to go and do a flyering. That's where I need to have a poster. That's where I need to have a radio ad. Okay, no more. No, thank you. Query bucketing, that used to actually take place in the Google business profile metrics, no longer. Photo views and clicks on Google Posts. So let's use these things, as these can give us clues to, one, Google thinks that data isn't important, or two, Google wants to obfuscate that data and not make it freely available because they'd prefer you to actually buy ads or do something else that feeds into their revenue machine. Or it might be that Google is about to drop that part of the product. Who knows?
Yeah,
but let's not.
Like those of us who've been doing this for a while, we know things happen. We just move on with our lives, and there'll be something new that Google.
We just got to crack on, and take that. Who knows what will come next? Let's keep an eye on the Google Business Profile APIs if we can, or at least have someone within an organization that is looking at those things. What is happening in GA4? What we've got that change. What is happening in Lucas? Who knows? Who knows what the next metric will be? So let's get excited about those new metrics and what they can tell us about what's working, rather than getting all sort of teary and misty-eyed about the things that are dead. GA4 woes. This is very lovely. It is free. It is on Bright Local, on the Academy. You just have to have a free account. That is an excellent primer dash next level for, oh my goodness gracious me, I'm still mourning the loss of UA and I need to move forward. So that's a really good, very local SEO specific course. Then you've got the practical GA4 course, which is the next one that I want to do, because I've been around in agency, but I want this one. So this is all about GA4. So you've got the instruction and you've got the hands-on learning methods. Brilliant, 20% off. And then this one is the one that I've spent a lot of time in. It's big, it's a beast, but it's brilliant because it's got everything, and you learn so much foundational stuff, but also next level stuff. So if you have got a big organization, or if you just want to learn these things, or this is part of your actual offering, you're an agency, then you really need to upskill yourself. You can't be delivering services and then not be in a position where you actually understand how to measure those things. So this covers the GA4, it covers Google Tag Manager, Looker Studio, and also this is where I have obviously got some of my templates from that I am working with. So that is super duper. And again, 20% off with that one. So that was a lot, and we were late. So thank you for staying around, everyone. Let's wrap this up. Metrics are everything. Okay, they help us demonstrate return on investment, they secure budget for ourselves or for resources, and they help us to test things, what works, what doesn't work so well. So we can get our local SEO metrics from a big range of sources. Metrics come and metrics go. But we need to not blindly trust the metrics. We need to always interrogate the metrics, and we need to be aware of changes in measurement protocol. We need to upskill ourselves and make sure that we know how these tools are measuring these data points. Otherwise, we are not providing useful information for our clients and for stakeholders. And then finally, this is a gift to all of the listeners and the watchers now and in the future. It's just a little spreadsheet that I've put together here, which has got a lot of the GBP metrics. It will give you the type, what's it for, what is the metric, what is the specifics, where do we get them, and why are we actually measuring it? What do we look for? Going up, looking down, flat line, what do we need to look at? Hopefully you'll find that useful and you can apply that to make sure that you're measuring all the things that you need to with regard to local SEO performance. And finally, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was so good. We do have some questions that we're going to get into. So again, if you are still watching and you're like, I have a meeting to go to, that's fine. We are going to send out a replay afterwards. Just make sure you register. All right. So first question is from Aditi. Do you ever get a client who wants to do a deep dive into your report and compare your report to a friend's agency or their previous agency? Oh, I love it when this happens. How about you, Claire?
I would say yes, but I would also say less and less now, just because I'm cherry picking my clients so carefully. But yes, look at this, and that's all the things to do with how you want to adopt a professional stance, in that you are, oh, that's interesting. Did you find it helpful? Which bits were helpful for you? Is there anything we can learn? So rather than saying, goodness gracious me, you were paying for that, is awful, as we find our place as a professional business owner to respond to that. But yes, it does happen. And also, why not have a little look at those things and give yourself a pat on the back and say, wow, we are really delivering value here, because look at the awful things that are happening elsewhere.
Yes, I've seen some reports in my time for sure. I have a little folder called bad reports that I put bad reports into.
We want to look at that.
I did talk about it once, but I had to cherry pick, obviously, because people could tell maybe if it was their report. So.
Yeah, you're just pointing at them in the audience.
Yeah. Oh, this was yours. Sorry. Okay. Next question is from Robert. Google announced they would no longer be reporting calls from GMB listings. Technically, they're called GPB listings for now. It's been a while since they renamed it. Maybe they'll rename it again next year.
I'm hoping for some sort of radical rename. Now, Robert, I could be wrong on this, but I think that was misinformation based on the back of the messaging issue. I think that they are still reporting calls.
Casey said just the call text history. Yeah.
Now this was, I can't remember the name. It was a Google. It wasn't rolled out across the board. It was only available in Canada and America anyway. So for me, I was like, I didn't even know it was a thing. I was like, we didn't have that. So no, they're not doing that anymore.
Okay. So then this report here that Robert's talking about, maybe that is going to be still okay?
Yeah, I think so, because I don't think that we're losing that basic metric of clicks on the call button. So however that works for you now, I don't think that's changing.
I think it is what we are losing is like the phone numbers that you could get from Google, which I actually don't think you could even get in Canada. I think that was a US only.
It was just a US only. So I can't remember the name of it, but that has gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then the last question that we have currently queued up from Karen: how do I add or modify existing links in GPB? For example, appointment links, order, product and services. A new merchant exchange makes this difficult to find.
So it depends if you're using a third-party tool and you are managing like a multi-location dashboard, then definitely get in touch with them and say, why is this so hard? You are not meeting my needs.
So difficult for me?
And I do not wish to pay you anymore, and I'm going to port over to somebody else. So I can't speak on that because I'm not sure who you are using. I just know that it is pretty easy to, if you're doing it via bulk upload. But obviously, every time you change everything, things like appointment links, stuff like that is okay. But when we make changes to our Google business profile, obviously we have to be helpful, because everything seems to trigger a suspension if you breathe too heavily onto your keyboard.
And the other thing too I want to say is, for example, some of our clients still have GMB as
Okay.
their actual like UTMs. Because we use
Yeah.
a slightly different set of UTMs than Claire recommends. It's fine. It's
It's
fine
not.
that we can recommend different ones. I think ours are anyway. So
No, I think probably just stick with mine. Yeah.
we'll have a fight about this next time. But I think
Okay.
the other thing too is if you're using, say, GMB and or GPB and then Google renames it again, do not feel the need to update all of your UTMs. Keep using what you're using, because 3 years from now they're going to change the name again. So don't
Yeah.
feel like you have to rename that
Yeah.
part of it.
But
Yeah.
another, just on that,
No.
just apropos to what you were just saying, if there have been changed multiple times over the last 4 years and you're trying to do a roll-up report, then you did something really good on, is it case statements
Yeah,
in
case statements in Looker Studio. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can say to Looker Studio, hey, really, honestly, I want this one bucket, okay, but I want you to put all of these things in this bucket. And then there's a, don't change, don't keep. I did a new UTM tagging piece just because I did want to make it, I changed my formatting. But if you're sticking with something old, then it's all good.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll update our formatting too, but then we just won't change it for old clients. It'll just be like, from this moment forward, this is what we're doing for these people. Yeah. Okay, one new question from Nicole just came in. We sync Bing listings with GPB. Recently, Bing has been rejecting the website URL because it's importing UTMs. I did see this actually. It does reject UTMs. I don't have any
I've got mine.
suggestions.
I've got my Bing
You've got yours?
tagged up, but then they're specific to Bing because I want to measure that separately.
So yeah, try using the Bing tags.
I would, yeah. Or it depends how many, because if you're, I think it's when you sync them. Is that so, Nicole? Is that via a third-party tool as well, syncing? Because I don't think,
Let's see.
or do you pull them in originally from Google Business Profile? Because there is that functionality in Bing, isn't there?
Yeah, we'll see if Nicole adds a reply. The other thing too that I've been saying is you don't have to use it's the UTMs are useful for GA4 because it automatically slots it into things in GA4. But if, for example, it's still going to come in if somebody clicks on a link on Bing, it's still going to come in as Bing, like organic search. It just won't be bucketed to places or whatever it might be. So don't be afraid to make up your own version of UTMs. Bing has the sync with the GPB option right in it. Oh, then it shouldn't reject the UTMs. That's rude.
Yeah, but depending on the number of locations that you have, you might want to just go in and update those, even if it's only the primary website link, just so you know, okay, local accounts for like 10% of our traffic, Bing accounts for 0.25% of that 10% or whatever of the. Anyway, it is useful, especially if you're working with a demographic that does use Bing, to tag that up.
Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions that we have. So
Oh, I want more.
so much for coming today. And our next webinar is going to be on July 16th. I promise I will start it at the right time. I already checked on LinkedIn. We're correct. And Ross is going to be joining us to talk about mastering the art of visibility in the AI era. Ross is fantastic. His ideas on repurposing content and not having to write new content all the time are fantastic. He also just came out with a new book, which is also great. Create Once, Distribute Forever. So I'm really excited to have Ross here with me next time. So Claire, thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for responding to my email where the subject line was, and I quote, "Ack. Urgent." And then I wrote, "Are you free? Because I messed up the time of the webinar. Please come on here immediately." Yeah. And Claire, being the delight that she is, decided to jump on. Thank you so much for coming. I hope everyone enjoyed today's session. Do you still have more questions? Check out our other videos to get more answers and leave a comment letting us know what topics you want us to cover in future videos. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.